Hi everyone. Now we jump into innovation. So many topics we addressed, overfishing, pollution, regeneration, so amazing topics, so many things to tackle and to focus on. And sometimes it's really on focus. It's bringing the awareness into that. And because some of the solutions are already there, it's just trying to get the right stakeholders into the table and co-cooperation among them. And innovation definitely brings an important element to the table. So I'll start to introduce some of the amazing speakers and innovators we have today. So the first one that I want to bring to stage is Liane Thompson, CEO of Aquaai. Prior to starting her blue economy climate company, Liane was a global, please, thank you. Liane was a global reporter and New York Times executive producer. And Liane met Aquaai partners, Simeon Pietroskowski. Can you say hi? Is there out there? Thank you for the innovation. It's amazing. And, and also, Aquaai provides affordable quality underwater data, easily assessed on a web dashboard using bio-inspired autonomous fish-like drones. We'll talk in detail. Then jumping to Pedro Almeida, which is an oceanographer and senior scientist on coastal risks and hazards at Atlantic Collab, or Collab plus Atlantic, right? Correct. Yep. Pedro is also the one who's measuring the height of the big waves in Nazaré, by the way. Now, and he's alive. So probably technology innovation helped on that. The Collab plus Atlantic is a non-for-profit R&D Portuguese collaborative laboratory that conceives and provides knowledge-based products and services related to various fields of the blue economy: ocean sustainability, marine science, marine ecosystems health, and ocean literacy. So thank you for being here. And another one is Mathias Opplinher, hope it's correct.
Thank you.
And he's the Director for Strategic Partnership at #Tide, accelerating growth through collaboration with like-minded, impact-driven organizations along the complete value chain. #Tide, Ocean Material is an innovative solution to tackle plastic pollution, where technology meets sustainability, and we'll talk in depth about that. And last but not least, André Facote. Welcome. And is a dynamic force, I already sit here, dynamic force as an entrepreneur focused on innovation and a new product development. And Skizo was created in 2018. Yeah. And his a company whose activity is dedicated to the direct sale to the consumer of differentiating innovative and revolutionary products created through the science of materials. So we'll talk a little bit deeper on that as well. So thank you all. Innovation is a great step for humanity in so many ways. And if we do the same thing all over again, we'll keep on getting the same results. So innovation is critical. And on oceans level, we're thinking of innovation in so many layers. And oceans is so need of that. We know more about space than we know about oceans, which makes no sense, but it's true. So let's think about what we are facing now. So we are facing in a situation where oceans is almost undiscovered. We don't have a lot of the information needed for a lot of the needs we have at the right time. So whether it is of those overfishing, pollution, restoring, we don't have the data. We don't own it. We don't track it. But fortunately, we have innovators And one of the innovators is Liane. And how can a robot fish save the oceans?
Can you hear me? So the question, how can a robot fish? So we harness data. So you heard in the previous panel about regeneration and pollution, that information is key. So for us, it was really about accessing that information affordably. Unfortunately, most of the players in the ocean previously, whether it be oil and gas or defense, had the deep pockets to afford autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, and therefore the cost of AUVs are incredibly expensive, and those costs are then passed down to those deep pockets. For us, we looked at how do we get information, how do we supply blue economy stakeholders, whether it be ports, or whether it be regenerators, or whether it be scientists, or whatever the case may be, even monitoring water quality on freshwaters. It wasn't just about the ocean, it was about water in general, because water is our life source, and we need to protect water. So in looking at what was out there, my partner, Simeon Pietrkowski in the back, who refuses to be on panels, is the mind behind the machine, which is a biomimetic AUV. It looks and swims like a fish and harnesses information unobtrusively, not disturbing the natural habitat. So when you ask me, how can a robot fish save the seas? My answer is, well, Mother Nature for 20 million years has had fish. So if we're going to save the seas or understand the seas or learn how to protect the seas, then maybe we should take our cues from nature and, as many engineers do, use biomimicry. So what we're doing is merging biomimicry and risk management and water management. So that's how we think that a robot fish can save the seas.
And a lot of these blue data scanners and tracers and all sorts of technologies being used sometimes are quite expensive and also quite limited on how they can work on. But yours is a little bit different, I would say.
Yeah, so we use many new ways, let's say in manufacturing, whether it be 3D or SLS printing that we use to create the shell. We also are constantly scouring the globe as robotics grows and hardware, it becomes less and less expensive. So we're actually carrying a payload of up to 16 different sensors and 3 cameras and a side scanner. And what we do is we make certain that everything that we put on our machine is affordable so that those costs, again, do not get passed down to those stakeholders. So for us, it's key. Obviously, if there are customizations that need to take place that we can add on, that's an additional cost. But for us, it was really about the affordability and the harnessing unobtrusively. And our units are also recyclable, which also keeps the cost down. So again, I think that as you look at what systems are out there, and I know there's been some conversations here today, this morning, about companies that are really truly innovative in protecting our waterways, yet are not getting those funding dollars, if you will, because we're not in bed with oil and gas or with defense. I think it's important to realize and to look at there are quite a few other new technologies, emerging technologies, deep technologies that are out there and that are trying to really forge forward, and obviously need support to do that. So for us, it's really about the affordability, so that information is key, but information cannot be too costly that we can't afford to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. One element that also it's critical is the approval to test new technology, right? Whether it is governmental, whether it is on specific sectors, whether it is on the security side, on the defense side. How are you tackling that? How can you find solutions, or at least have a journey to move along with that?
So we do not work with oil and gas or defense departments. It is part of what our mandate was when we began, and it's a harder, especially if you're coming out of the United States, where everything that has to do with DARPA defense dollars, especially underwater, easily gets that needed development grants or investments. For those of us who are choosing to take our technology in a different way and not in those pathways, it is much more of a challenge, I'll admit that. How we're tackling that is, well, we're here. We're getting our word out in other ways. You know, we're always looking for partners and finding dollars to keep growing. We have actually entered sustainable, let me just point that out, sustainable fish farming done out of the north of Norway, where we are working with Aquaai, who supply Whole Foods with salmon. And through them, they don't use fish to feed their salmon. It's all insects or kelp or other ways. So it was really important with us, even in something as, I guess, controversy as fish farming, even though we do have to feed 9.7 billion people one day, soon, or than we think. And as you heard earlier, everyone wants seafood. It was really important for us to also recognize that and say, okay, how can we apply our technology even to the food industry, as well as, you know, coastal plastic detections or MPA monitoring and so forth.
Absolutely, yeah, it's very interesting. We will keep on all day long talking about each one of those innovations. We need to jump to another one, and another one is, let's, instead of looking to the ocean, let's look up. Because satellites is being used to help also the oceans and ourselves. And when we say help the oceans, it's more about ourselves, to keep as longer as we can in our planet, right? Pedro, how can satellites and also cloud-based tools help us to adapt our coasts to climate change? How that can help?
Okay. So first of all, thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be in this event. So first, I will start with the question, actually. Should we worry about protecting our coastlines from climate changes? Specifically the sea level rise, which is a really important result of climate change and is impacting our coasts. And the response to that is yes, because we live too close to the shore. And our settlements are located in regions too close to the sea level rise. So, for example, just to give some numbers, more than 50% of coastal countries live within, more than 80% of that population lives from the shoreline to a distance of 100 kilometers. And other indicators, such as the 22 of the 33 megacities in the world, they are located at the coast. Or, for example, 41% of human population lives at the coast. So there are many reasons why we should worry about the impact of climate changes in coastal areas. And in addition to this, most of the settlements that we have, they are located on very dynamic environments. So coastal environments such as barrier islands or barriers, or low topography sandy environments, or even wetlands such as mangroves or salt marshes. They are extremely dynamic and respond to sea level rise. So they adapt to these forcing mechanisms by naturally adapting, moving upward into the coast. And our settlements are not adaptable, so they are static over the time. So in addition to this, they also provide very important services to us. They provide food, they provide protection for the biodiversity, they capture carbon, or they also provide protection to our settlements in terms of when we have an extreme sea level event, they shelter our houses from inundation or erosion. So before we think about adapting or mitigating climate change's impacts, we need to first think about how to quantify changes in these coastal environments, how to understand how they behave a long time if we are not affecting them as well, because they need space to accommodate. And so before thinking about mitigate, we really need to know how much they are changing, how fast they are changing, and where they will put at risk our settlements. So this is the fundamental information that we need to decide further on about our coastlines. And in this sense, so basically this is the topic we work, one of the topics we work in Co-Lab Plus Atlantic. We work in different domains of blue economy, but this is coastal risks and hazards is one of the topics we work. And we use many types of solutions based on remote sensing, satellites, but also aerial or in situ instrumentation, together with models and other tools to provide solutions to society, because at the end, who decides what we're going to do is decision makers such as governments or municipals or other entities that have the power to decide. So basically our work is to translate this information from technology to indicators. And particularly important, satellites have at least two aspects that make them a really great solution. One, they are consistent in terms of spatial coverage. They completely capture information like satellite imagery along the entire coastline without any gaps. And the second one is they are consistent a long time. So they acquire information a long time, which allows us not only to assess at a certain point the condition of the coast, but also understand how it's changing over the time. So this allows us to understand also trends, which is really important to decide. And based on this, so one example of the solutions we are developing and we have developed is a tool called CASI, that you can find it at casiengine.org. And this tool is based on Google Earth Engine technology, which is a cloud-based tool. And basically this means a very powerful computer at Google and a very big data set of satellite imagery is there, accessible to everyone. And we developed this website that is free, open source, that everyone can access, get information from it without necessarily using a local computer that requires a lot of power to process this image or storage to keep this big amount of data. So it really makes it a really simple process of analyzing any coastal environment anywhere in the world. You can apply it anywhere in the world. And the information you get from it, it's very simple indicators such as the shoreline position, but also you can get time series of shoreline evolution, which allows you to calculate statistics such as a linear trend. And this information is the basis for develop a risk analysis anywhere at any coastline in the world. And that's totally free. And the aspect, the one very important aspect of this tool is that it also, the fact that it doesn't require a really robust computing capacity. So anyone with a cell phone with internet access can use it. And somehow this helps to break a little bit of inequality in science that we have normally, because in some locations we don't have capacity, computers or any other logistics to do this type of analysis that are somehow fundamental in terms of decision making about our coastlines. So basically, this is the contributions we give to this topic.
Amazing. So that's great, and I'm sure cooperation among this type of data is critical to know even further, because together. Yeah, we're talking about underwater data, and then we talk about the satellites data that we can collect, and together it's more in-depth information we can collect. And it's critical, especially now that there are a few ways of funding and get more focus on oceans with the blue carbon credits that can be a very important factor to fast forward the need for focus on ocean that unfortunately only works with money and investment focus. But it's great to blue data, but now what to do with everything that's on the water, with all the plastic, with all the I will say getting into all the small chemicals that we place in the water, and of course plastic is one of them, but it's not the only one. And when you talk pollution, the chemical pollution, there's so much more than just the plastic, but plastic is one of them, and it's so critical. So Matthias, how can plastic waste be turned into a $1,000 watch?
Yes, first of all, also thank you for having us here. Yeah, this question actually really points at the heart of what we are trying to do, which is to give waste value. And this is true on many different levels. First of all, we need to have the waste at our hands, so it needs to be collected, and for that you need to encourage people to collect it. We focus a lot of our work on Southeast Asia, and there for a long time and in many places still, picking plastic is not considered honorable work. And so the first thing we needed to do is to give actual value to the plastic, monetary value. We needed to start paying people for the collecting of the plastic. So that's one way that we do it. So we pay fishermen, for example, in Thailand, Indonesia, to collect the plastic, and we pay them in a way that it's worth their time. It also allows them to fill the gap that has been left by overfishing, climate change, the fish populations that have collapsed. They are not able to earn a living anymore through fishing alone, and so we offer them additional income with the plastic. So that's one way that we add value, very literal, in a literal way. But we also need to add value to the plastic and make it about more than just the plastic, because what we are doing basically is selling recycled ocean-bound plastics to big manufacturers of plastic products. Because it is collected manually, it is more expensive than virgin plastic. And so we need to explain those corporations why they should pay more. They have a harder time to understand it actually than consumers. Consumers see that, they understand why this is more expensive, and so we need to do a lot of explaining and just storytelling to add this value to the material, which goes hand in hand with what I explained before. When we say value, what we mean is impact. So we create, through our supply chain, we create social impact with the jobs that we provide, with the additional income, with the job training that we do with local communities. We organize cleanups. We have educational programs for schools, students on site in those areas most affected by the problem. And all of this creates a story that is added onto the material. It's not about the material alone, it's also about this story, which just goes a long way in engaging audiences. It's basically just a huge marketing asset, and that is how we can convince brands to actually buy that more expensive material. And the $1,000 watch, Tom Ford created a watch with our plastic, and it sold for $1,000. And it was a plastic watch. Of course, creating luxury goods can't be the answer, but it just goes a long way in showing how this material has a value. It used to be a single-use bottle, and now it's a $1,000 watch. And what we are trying to do is to really take cheap single-use plastic and turn it into something that people are willing to pay for and are willing to keep for a long time.
That makes sense. And normally we don't relate to luxury products when we talk about ocean waste and all that. And adding the marine litter algae, right? Technology innovation into the added with the science. How technology in that case is helping Skizo to transform marine litter and algae into luxury fashion products?
Yeah, let's talk about fashion. That is one of another problem that we have in our planet is the second most polluted sector, and we have a big issue in our oceans also because of the fashion industry. So with the help of the fishermen, we collect the plastic from the ocean and ghost gears or discarded fish nets or old fish nets, some like the other projects that we have heard today. And we transform that into small pellets right now in our life is not rocket science to do that. So we make like the same that all the others are doing, but we are doing with our ghost fish nets from our coast from Portugal, and our plastic is not our plastic because we collect plastic here in our coast, but the plastic comes with the high tides, and it's not also just Portuguese plastic. And then we transform that into a very strong and continuous yarn to introduce into fashion industry, like recycled polyester for plastic and recycled polyamide for ghost fish nets. And then we start to see that it's not just the plastic, but we have also another issues in some ecosystems, that is some of seaweeds or algae that are very invasive, and they are choking the ecosystem. So we start to collect that kind of algae, and we start to reproduce in laboratory. Is not the same transformation that we do with the plastic or the ghost fish nets, but it's kind of the same, and we are in the formulation phase and certification phase to give that yarn to the market, and it will be an organic fiber to the market, because we have to be honest with what we are doing. If we collect plastic from the ocean, I can't. It's like beautiful if I tell you, but I can't produce clothes with that yarn, because if we are just producing sneakers and other material and other products, and we start right now to produce clothes, because we achieve and we have the patent of that product, that is a laundry bag for collecting microplastics, and right now we are able to produce clothes because we have a product that can solve a bigger problem. So I have to be honest, I can't collect big plastics and wash and produce that plastic into a t-shirt, and then my client wash that t-shirt and sends microplastics from the ocean. So we have to be honest with that, and that's why we just start to produce clothes right now, because we have that problem. That problem is not solved, but we have a product that can help us to do that. And we don't have any stock. We produce only on demand, to use the right resources that the market demands. So we think that we are living right now the digital revolution, and we think that the next revolution could be the mass customization. And if we see all the big brands in different kind of sectors that they are working on that. They are offering, and the biggest companies are offering customization to their own products for the market, and this is cheaper because I don't have any stock, so I just spend money in the production that the market demands.
Yeah, it's cost effective for sure, and waste management also perfect. So we don't have much more time, unfortunately. There's so much I want to ask all of you, but I will take one last question, which is, so on the innovation process, on the creation of new channels, on new needs, on bringing the awareness into that, what is, in each of you opinion, the main challenge? What is missing? What do you feel is the main challenge you're facing right now? You can start, Liane.
I would say the main challenge, or the main challenges, because there's more than one. you know, everyone works in silos. Just you saw and heard the four of us today and how each of us can, whether it's, you know, helping find and harnessing the invasive species that need, you know, or what you're doing with bringing in education. I think really education is the key, and bringing in the communities is key. And we have, you know, also a similar model where we go where the need is and get the community involved, teach them how to 3D print, the whole thing. So I think that's really, really important. I think the biggest problem is that everyone thinks that $25,000 or $50,000 in ocean technology, especially new innovations, is enough. And you have a lot of people who have these brilliant ideas, and they get these accelerators, which are exploding all over, and they get 25,000 and then go on your way. But then, what happens if you actually have customers? What happens if people actually want your technology, and you've got to go from here to here? There's nobody out there. There's a vacuum, right? Unless, of course, you already have at least, you know, a few hundred, you know, $1,000 million of revenue. That's fine. But the place where you've proven your technology, yeah, with the help of the 25,000, I'm not bunking that. But it takes more, and that's where I think there's a really big problem and a really big vacuum. We don't need any more accelerators to talk about ocean innovation. It's enough already. We need people who actually are in for the long haul of those innovations, especially from the Western world. You know who does fund a lot of those technologies? It's not the West. During that gap, most of the dollars are coming in for investments out of China because they fund that gap, not the West. But yet the West stands up and says, oh, we're number one, or why are we losing to China? It's because we don't fund that gap, not the 25,000. Not when you have revenue already, and then of course everybody wants to fund you because everyone's a follower. But what about that gap? What about when you have orders, especially as a hardware company, right? What if you're like ready to go and people want you, they want to work with you? We have enough invasive species and certainly damn hell enough plastics out there, right? Where's that gap? And where are the people standing up and saying, okay, we're going to put out our dollars, or our euros, or our pounds? Where are those people? And stop giving it, I'm sorry, this is not going to make me very popular here, but I have to say it. Also, I would really love to see a lot of the nonprofits that get those LP dollars, because all those LPs really want to feel well that they're giving the money to save the environment or the climate or the oceans. I'd like to see a lot of those nonprofits actually use that money, not just for the $25,000 checks, but to actually also go the long haul and stick with those innovations, and actually to see those dollars go to the innovations, not to build up your nonprofit that much larger so you can all go to the same conferences to see the same people saying the same thing and staying in nice hotels. As an innovator, as a hardware, deep tech, IoT innovator, it is damn hard to get funding and to get support. And I don't think it's because I'm outspoken, because we have a need for this technology. So if I may answer that, the main challenge is people putting their money where their mouth is and stop running around saying, oh, let's kumbaya, save the planet, and not pay for it. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Definitely a critical issue facing right now. So educating investors, critical, and also the ecosystem. And Pedro, in your opinion, what is the main challenge or the main need?
Yeah, well, in my field that I work mostly with the risks and coastal management. A big challenge is related to the decision makers. So typically decision makers, they don't decide on long term, they react to problems, and that makes it difficult to implement or develop something that will be implemented in reality. They only use information or gaps or parts of information when they have a problem. So this limits our capacity, because we develop a lot of solutions that are already very stable with a very high TRL. But at the end, the clients, or let's say the main potential clients of these solutions are governments, municipals, entities like environmental agencies that don't plan or don't consider in their budgets a long-term planning that involves the management of the coast. So they only request information, or part of these tools are only used in very dramatic situations where they need for tomorrow decision and information very specialized. So I think at least from my side of innovation or the field I work, definitely it will be necessary to change the minds how politicians or people who decide look at the coast, at the management of the coast. So if they change that,
definitely.
maybe our innovation has a room to exist.
Yeah, digital twins are helping them to think differently nowadays, but still a challenge. Yeah.
Visualization might help to them to see the things, but
a lot of them are not
it's not
experts
enough.
on the field. That's a challenge, definitely. And Mathias?
Yes, so what are we competing with as a supplier for raw material? We're competing with big plastics, with virgin plastic. And this market is completely distorted. Like the price of the material doesn't reflect the cost. No one pays for end of life of plastic. It just lays around in the environment. There's no price tag on the pollution, and that's just wrong. Virgin plastic is way too cheap. The pollution should be priced into that, and all of a sudden we would be the ones with the cheaper material. And so that's what needs to change, and I think that's a political problem. There needs to be plastic taxes, there needs to be those schemes that producers of plastic also have to pay for their product once it's polluting the environment.
Absolutely, absolutely. André?
Yeah, I sign everything that all says, and even all that Liane says. And I have to add one that we have a huge problem in Portugal, that is the legislation. Sorry, because I can't collect plastic from a port, and I can't go with that plastic to our transformation factory. I have to pay for a governmental or a third-party company to ship or to send that plastic to the factory. I can't do that process, and because it's against the law. And with the invasive algae, we have the same issue. That is, I can't collect the invasive algae from our coast, but if I buy the same algae from another country, I can do the process here in Portugal. That is
Wow.
yeah,
Amazing. How?
yeah. I don't know why. It's the law.
Wow, yeah. So I need to wrap up. Everybody is saying. So thank you all. Amazing. Congratulations on your path. We have big challenge ahead, definitely, but we're getting there. That's the importance. Educate investors, regulatory systems, make them look the way they need, and of course, changing the priorities. I think it's critical, and at the end, cooperation among all of us, definitely.
And adopt the law.
Adapt the law, yeah, regulatory system. Yeah, thank you so much. And next is a new panel coming in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.